formerly from 95.7 Cruise FM. Now, since they can my ass, I'm on my own doing my podcast with my friend here, Chris Mooney. This is the Bold and Short of It podcast. This is the inaugural episode. Welcome to the podcast. I'm actually kind of excited to work with you. Podcasting could be fun. How's it going,
Well,
Chris?
not bad, Jimmy. Nice to be here with you. I'm settling a debt, so hopefully after this episode we don't have to associate with each other anymore.
Yeah, yeah. You miss me.
Yeah, I thought it was a full house. No, I'm really happy to be here. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. Basically, just a continuation of the endless chats that we have, and hopefully there's something to offer and people appreciate a little window into what we're up to. So, thanks for having me,
Yeah,
bud.
yeah, I'm kind of excited. This is going to be fun. So why don't we tell everyone like who we are? Let's start with how we met. You tell the story.
Well, Jimmy is does work on the side, um, acting stuff and different things like that. And I actually heard a story from one of the guys in my fraternity that they hired Jimmy for a stag, um, and because the groom was petrified of midgets, so they thought they'd leverage that, and it ended up being a really good story. And basically, uh, Jimmy shadowed this guy all weekend, uh, slept in the same room, wore the same clothes, and by the end of it, the weekend they ended up as best of friends. But, it was a great story. And then I thought, um, and of course, our mutual friend JD, who told me about you, said, if you want to use him, don't call his agent. We're friends on Facebook. So I reached out to him. He put me in touch with you, and we got you to do. Be our security guard for an event at the faculty club, which was pretty funny. Uh, those of you that are tuning in there, or if you watch the clip introducing us, that the pictures there, it was a fun night. It was really interesting, and then of course we started hanging out, and basically that explains it, I suppose. Unless you want to add anything, Jimmy.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. Like we met, we kind of hit it off. We both have similar sense of humor. We kind of are kind of self-deprecating in some ways, and we love, throwing jabs at each other, and we give it and take it. We have fun, and there's the only
Yeah,
thing that's really there.
I just, I really appreciate the endless material that you offer. So it's pretty easy for me to throw darts, and that's pretty much the biggest thing I get out of this relationship. So
Uh,
thanks for that, Jimmy.
hey, if I'm here just, to give you content to, throw darts at me, then hey, all power to you. You know, I try I try to be nicer to you. I think I'm more of a friend like you just, are a user. But
Whatever, man. I got a good one for those of you listening. One time we were on my boat and having a wobbly pop or two, and I'm bugging Jimmy, and I'm like, man, you're such a loser. And he goes, I can't be a loser. I have a Star Wars podcast.
it, that,
I'm like,
but
I'm
that,
like,
that is,
I'm like, okay, thanks for making my point for me.
but that is totally true. Like I did have a Star Wars podcast. It was called the Jedi Jimmy podcast, and it was award winning. I was the only person in the category, but it's just, I'm not a loser. I have a podcast.
No, I'm not a loser. I have a Star Wars podcast.
It's kind of funny. Let's get into one of our topics a little because you kind of dipped into it a little bit when you mentioned me and said the word midget. For those who supposedly politically incorrect, and a lot of people get offended by it. And I remember back in the day when it was just normal nomenclature. Everybody always calls. and no one was offended by it. Now everybody's offended by it, whether they are a little person or not a little person. Everybody's offended. I was in radio for 12 years and I used to get complaints all the time that I used to use it. And the thing is people have got so sensitive lately, like when, and not even because they are a little person. It's because they're they need a cause. They need someone to feel sorry for, someone to stand up for. And it's kind of annoying. And the reason why I brought that up is one of the things that I was thinking about the other day is I was watching Robin Williams stand up comedy. And for those who don't know or know his comedy, you know, get a life. You know, watch some of it because it is funny, but it is a lot of the stuff is not politically correct anymore. You can't use some of the words that he used and stuff like that. Like when dealing with people with handicaps, or dealing with um, any of that kind of stuff. And the, what do you think about that, Mooney?
Well, you made a really good point. Like some people, they want to benefit by what they perceive to be your shortcomings, or like so it's like the bigger the victim, the bigger the hero I get to become for defending them, even if the person doesn't need your help or want it. And it's fundamentally like a selfish action. So it's like I want to watch you be denigrated so I can fly in and save the day. And it's like, we all need to lighten up maybe a little bit and have a bit of a sense of humor about life and people and ourselves. Um, so I mean, stop taking yourself so seriously. More importantly, stop leveraging other people's shortcomings for an opportunity to feel good about yourself or put yourself in the position of a hero.
When you were saying shortcomings, are you saying that because I am short, or was that just the word you chose just for the sake of it?
It was for the sake of it. It fit at the time.
Oh, okay. So you weren't saying that because I'm short, because it might offend someone. Um,
No, no, no. I know what it's like being bald and having people come after me. So maybe the name of the podcast. It's like racist against bald people. So
hey, I don't have a
no,
lot of hair right now.
yeah,
Like
it's almost down to the wood.
it was down to the wood a week ago.
Ah, shit. I would have liked to have seen that.
So But but let's get back into the whole comedy thing, like dealing with the stand up, because we were talking about this the other day, dealing with that and Robin Williams and a lot of the comedy back in the day that we all grew up on. Us being close to the same age. I'm 50. You're like a lot older, like 54 or something like that. And
Yeah.
and and the comedy that we loved back in the day is, you can't. You can't find it anymore. Like you were talking about one of the Eddie Murphy,
Yeah,
was it
delirious.
Delirious?
Yep.
Yeah, because you can't find it streaming. And is it because, they didn't want to release it again, do you think? Or is it just, people are offended by it and they just, it doesn't stand up anymore?
Well, like even before delirious, I mean, like every second word is fucked. But I mean, that wasn't new for comedy. I mean, if you watch like one of the biggest ones of the day when it came out, Richard Pryor live at the Sunset Strip. That's one of the best stand-up comedy documents or documentaries or whatever you want to call it, shows recorded of all time, and it's great. But it's celebrating not taking yourself too seriously. And yeah, is it risque? Is some of the stuff dark? I don't even want to say dark, but indulgent. Like I know in Delirious they have a couple bits about gay people or gay sex with Cramden and Norton or whatever, and it's like it's funny. Everybody that everybody of our generation, like when that thing was out, everybody had seen it, and it was such a
Yeah.
hit. And then he came out with Raw, and like Delirious was so big that Raw was playing in the theaters. So people are going to the movie theaters to watch stand up. Like it was pretty impressive. And again, like nobody took themselves too seriously. Um, everybody, like it wasn't a big deal, and so everybody had a chance to laugh at whether it be themselves or whatever. Like I don't know. But yeah, you
But
cannot get. I wanted to show my kid, my children, Delirious because it's funny, and I couldn't. That's where I found out you can't get it anywhere. So I bet if you had a DVD of it, you could sell it on eBay for quite a few bucks because you can't stream it, you can't download it. You go to Google TV or Amazon and try to buy stuff, can't find it anywhere. And it's too bad because it's fucking hilarious.
yeah, it is great. And but one thing that I was thinking after we had this conversation yesterday was, is it the fact that it's offensive that you can't find it, or is it the fact that Eddie Murphy doesn't want it to be released again? Because the reason I'm thinking about that is over the last few years he's been a family man. He's got like so many kids, and he's a lot of his new stuff now is all kids voiceovers. Like he was Donkey and Shrek, and he was, did like that bunch of Christmas stuff, and it's all kid friendly. He's not using the same language he used to use. It's stuff that he wants his kids to watch. So could that be part of it, do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, it doesn't matter anyway because it would just be speculation on our part. Um, but I mean, he's got lots of stuff out there that's still pretty crass that you could buy. Um, I think it's way more reasonable to conclude that somebody decided it wasn't proper anymore or whatever. Like I literally hate when people use the term inappropriate. That's inappropriate. Like, fuck off. Like inappropriate to whom? Like it drives me nuts. But somebody determined that it was inappropriate, I'm sure, and you can't get it anywhere now, which is a damn
Uh,
shame.
I was looking online, and do you have Amazon Prime?
Yep.
According to Google, it's on Amazon Prime Video.
Hmm. Prime Video, eh? I'm checking right now. But if it is, it wasn't.
But
No,
sometimes
no. There's a
these,
no. I put in Delirious, and there's an old John Candy movie called Delirious from
yeah, it's
'91.
because I Googled that as well. But you have to put Eddie Murphy Delirious.
Eddie.
Eddie, what movie was that from? Eddie.
No,
Um,
that's from Delirious.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't. I put in Eddie Murphy Delirious. It's not. Doesn't come up.
Huh, that's crazy.
Yeah, no shit.
Because it is funny, and like he's the kind of comedian that made fun of everybody. Like
Yeah.
and he made fun of himself as well, and growing up in poor neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. And he kind of, it was different than anything that anybody else did,
No,
because
100%.
he is very self-deprecating. He does use for like it wouldn't stand up now if he did it live at a venue now. I think he'd have a lot of outcrying of people going, this isn't right. You know what I mean?
Well, of
But
course.
there's,
Now,
yeah,
I'd like to go back to a time where people didn't take themselves too seriously and consequently laughed a little more.
yeah,
That it is.
it is crazy how people take everything so seriously, and they get offended by everything. And, you know, life's too short, man. And
Yeah. Oh, what's that? Your life or everyone's?
everyone, everyone, it's that statement wasn't only meant for short people.
Yeah. But
So,
that whole like word police people that go, that's inappropriate. I mean, that's again another example of somebody who wants to feel better, feel more powerful about themselves. You know, being in a position of authority to tell you what you can and can't say, and it's bullshit, and it's basically an act of selfishness on behalf of the person that goes, you can't do this, that, or the other. In my opinion,
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one.
yeah.
And and saying that, why don't we? Because a lot of the people that are tuning in right now, there's a lot of people who don't know who we are. So, in a couple of sentences, say who you are. Like, what have you done in your life? Where did you grow up? Like, just kind of tell everyone who Chris Mooney really is.
Yeah, I promise it'll be really exciting. No, I'm a lifelong Edmontonian. Lived here my whole life. From university, I started out as a realtor. I'm a broker now with a larger company with over 100 agents um, across Canada, and I'm past president of the Realtors Association of Edmonton. I'm a graduate of the U of A. I got my BA and my master's of business administration. Um, yeah, and I live pretty close to downtown. Two kids in university. That's about it, right?
Yeah, sorry, I fell asleep there. That was really exciting.
Right? I told you.
Um, uh, and
Oh,
myself for those who,
my
okay,
passions are bourbon and Vegas.
and
Oh,
if you combine them, you can drinking bourbon in Vegas is probably a thing that
yeah,
you like to do as well. Yeah,
and the Oilers, love the
yeah,
Oilers.
you're a big fan of sports as a whole, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Not a basketball
Okay,
guy, but other than that,
on that note, I was born in Tabor, Alberta. No, I was born in Winnipeg, but I grew up in Tabor, Alberta. I moved there when I was about 8 years old and lived there till my mid 20s. I joined a little person basketball team called Canadian Half Pints, traveled the country talking to kids about bullying and playing a comedy style basketball. And in the last 12 plus years, I've worked in radio in Edmonton. I was the from 19, sorry, not 19, for 20, from 2013 till about 2016, I was at the 100.3 The Bear, was on the afternoon drive. And then for the last 8.5 years, I was on the locker room on Cruise FM until they didn't need me anymore. So yeah, and now I just semi-professional wrestler with Monster Pro Wrestling. Other than that, as Mooney mentioned a bit earlier, I'm very much a character guy. I've been hired as a leprechaun on St. Patty's Day, and if you in that starting video that we played, there was actually a picture of me dressed as a leprechaun with the one, the only Mooney, and that was this past St. Patty's Day. I've done I've done mini me, like a miniature version of people at parties. Uh, I've even done stripping. For the longest time, I was the only male midget stripper in Western Canada, and then now I'm a podcaster with this guy. So that's basically my life.
um, yeah, we were talking about the stripping the other day. Like that's like you did pretty well, eh? like
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 it,
okay, you tell them like because you're with like you'd be on a show with like some girls and a dude, not all at the same time, obviously, but you're all going to an event at a bar or something, right? And yeah, you did like so. Yeah, you go ahead and explain that.
because like what he was touching on there is the fact that when I did it, because it's kind of unique thing having a male little person as a stripper. So my agent used to get more for me than it would cost for like one of the guys I stripped with. He was a bodybuilder. He looked jack. I have a beer gut. and I was there, wearing my G string and shaking my moneymaker and making a couple of $100 more than they were, just as a walk-in. And like I did that. I've done private parties. I was at Pinky's for what, 2 years. I was their I was their mascot kind of thing, and then I would do a stage show and I do private dances in the back, and it's a different life. And I remember having conversations about stuff like that I've done in my life, and I go, where did I ever think that that was going to happen? That I'd be having a conversation with one of my friends about something that happened when I was stripping at a bar. Like it was weird how my life kind of veered in different directions, and people were like, "Hey, will you do this?" Okay. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah. You're probably not used to saying no.
no, they're like, if I said no, it was something really bad. Like they were going to throw me out of an airplane or something. Um, like I didn't say no to much, and I still don't. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird. I'm an entertainer. I love making people laugh. I like doing that, and in doing so, there's a lot of little people that are mad at me because I take advantage of the fact that I am a little person. I love being a little person. I love dressing up in weird costumes. When I was with one of the radio stations, I can't remember which one, I dressed in total drag and walked down White Avenue. I was the ugliest woman on the planet. Um, and I did it just because there was a video that went viral of this good looking girl walking down the street, and she had a GoPro on, and it was just and she wasn't and people were heckling her, not heckling, but hey baby, how you doing, catcalling, all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to see if me dressed as a woman, if I'd have the same reaction. And the only reaction I got, and the only reaction I got is, "Hey Jimmy, nice dress." Like it's just because people knew who I was, and and it wasn't quite the reaction that I wanted, but it was still a reaction. I'm okay with doing all kinds of entertaining things.
Yeah, and like the not saying no must have worked well for some of the fellas when you were stripping, I guess. Eh?
I mostly strip for women. Like I was hired for stagettes. If I did lap dances in the back room at the strip club, it was always for women. There was one time that the boyfriend insisted that he had to be in the room, and he was just sitting there going, thinking to himself, "I don't think this was a good idea." Like Like he looked so uncomfortable, but he was I don't think he was comfortable having her in a room with me in my G string. But you know, who would be comfortable with that
So
actually? But
so anyway, out there, fellas, like if you're that way inclined, we'll let you know next time Jimmy's stripping because, as we said, as he himself said, he doesn't say no, so lots of opportunity
yeah,
there.
yeah, I'll strip for anyone's girlfriend.
Um, yeah, and I like that. I liked your handle when you were at Pinky's. Was it Hugh Hafner?
Yeah, that was my stripper name for the longest time. But
That's good.
and I left it that way until uh after he passed, and then there was all these stories of Me Too and sexual assault and stuff like that he did with it. So I changed my name to Cinnamon Jimmy because I'm a whole lot of spice and a little bit of sweet. So and and you went mute there because you were gonna pee yourself, I'm pretty sure.
No,
Um,
I was trying to suppress the vomit
your
reflex.
feelings.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the cruise situation? Because, like, as your friend, when you were telling me about that, it sure pissed me off.
Yeah, like the thing is one thing that what a lot of people probably know, or you might not, is the radio industry has evolved. I wouldn't say evolved. I'd say devolved. Especially since like with COVID and then all these big companies realized that people didn't actually have to be in the office to be on the radio. So they sometimes get other people in other markets to voice different shows. And because they realize they can, because they had to develop the technology when COVID happened. Because if, like, I was sick for 2 weeks, I couldn't go into the office, but I still needed to be on the show. So I would be in my, I'd be in my living room and broadcasting with the other two guys I worked with right from my living room. And then they realized that, hey, it's cheaper if we only get, if we have some people broadcast here and there. And like we have people on currently on Cruise FM. There's no one in Edmonton. They're all in Fort Mac or Saskatchewan or Calgary or wherever. And none of them are on Cruise, at least for in Edmonton. And it's all just cost cutting. It's all just, hey,
Yeah.
it's it. I like to say that it was COVID that killed radio. No, but it's greedy business. It's people that, hey, we can't figure out how to make money, so let's just cut stuff. Is my personal opinion, and again, that's just my opinion. It might not be correct. It's could be offend people, but I don't care. That's just how I feel. and and me getting fired after being there for 8 years and doing all the different stuff that I did throughout the years on the show. And we tried everything. Like we would go to meetings, like we busted our butts, and it was something. I loved my job. I loved working with the guys that I work with. I worked with Lachlan Cross and Grant Johnson, and it was a great job. And then for them to walk in and go, yeah, that's your last show. We're making changes, and that's it.
Just like
It
that,
was a
eh?
kick. It was a kick in the head. We knew something was up when the week before, when I was on vacation, they fired my boss and a bunch of other people, and then the boss came back 2 days after I came back from my vacation and went, "Have a
Yeah.
nice life." But
Like,
it's
not even
it's
like thank
it's
you for your contribution to the brand, or like we you
but
sure did a lot, or we really appreciate, like nothing like that.
but the thing is, though, is no, there wasn't anything like that. But the thing is the guy that fired me wasn't even my boss. Like they fired my boss, and so this guy had just become a manager 3 days before they were told him to fire me. So what was he going to say? He didn't know me from a hole in the floor. Like
Yeah.
like he had worked with me for a total of 10 minutes. And so, in a way, I can't blame him because that would be awkward as hell. You meet me for the first time and go, "Hey, by the way, see ya." Um, what are you going to say? Like you go from running one radio station to running a bunch, and then oh yeah, your first duty is to fire a bunch of people. Like it's he was put in a rough spot, and I was upset about it, and I was bothered by it. But then a friend made me realize that he didn't want to do that. Like he was told he had to go. This is who you have to let go, and welcome to your first day at work.
Yeah, but nobody wants to do it, and you have
No,
to. I mean, it's a good way to put it, but you know, um, I think it's important to possess the empathy to realize the impact of what you're doing to somebody and try to be a little more comforting. I don't think that's
yeah,
too much to ask.
no, but at least I'm not complimenting them in any way. But one thing I do respect the company is the fact that the severance package that they gave me, it was actually a pretty decent severance package. They took care of me for a while, and I have to at least give them that much. But
Yeah.
am I glad that they let me go? No. It's it's the business. Like there's so many companies that every year they lay people off. Every year they fire someone or a bunch of people. I used to work at Bell years ago, and just the day after Bell Let's Talk Day, which was, you know, talking about mental health and mental illness, um, they fired 200 people. So they were getting criticized about it. So then they decided to fire people, at a different time. But they were laying off like two, 200, maybe 300 people company wide every year. Like
Your boss is like, come into my office, let's talk.
yeah, 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 it's crazy. But, you know, the thing is it's not always the manager's fault. You can be mad at the manager till you're blue in the face, but he's told by somebody up
Yeah,
that,
obviously.
hey, you have to make cuts. And I remember during one year um, that I worked at Bell, they fired a bunch of people, and then the head of HR, who had to do all the firing and deal with their packages, they fired her the next day. Like it was,
Wow.
and they fire managers, and it's it's a horrible industry. And I had the opportunity or possibility of getting back in another city, and I'm like, how am I guaranteed to keep that job? Like it's such a volatile market, and the companies, instead of finding a solution to the fact that they're not making money, they're going, okay, we can't make money, so let's just get rid of people, so then we have less expenses. Like,
Yeah. Um, yeah, I remember you were talking about that opportunity and to me, and you said, like, I don't know, I don't really feel very good about going to a different town. Like, all my friends are here and you. That was classic Jimmy. But listen, I'll tell you this. Um, I think another reason, or a huge contributing factor, perhaps the biggest one, to the devolution of radio as a forum, is the proliferation of podcasts and how easy it is for like a couple guys just like you and me, to share our ideas about different things. Or like, I mean, shit, there's podcasts about everything now. And when you're driving or even at home or whatever, um, all you got to do is hit that skip button, no commercials, and you literally can tailor what you consume, and that's a very powerful force. And you know what else, buddy, is um, just because the decision was made for you doesn't mean that it didn't end up being a good decision. Because like here we are talking, right, and you have control. No one's firing you, or at least I don't have any plans to for the time being. We'll see how it plays out. We'll
good
look at the
luck.
ratings.
But
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 like
the thing
honest,
is, the thing is though, is you said, that, like, with podcasts and stuff like this, you don't have a lot of advertisers. But the people that don't have advertising, the people that don't have sponsors, are the ones that are just doing it for nothing. But eventually, there are companies out there, there are podcasts out there that do have sponsors, either sponsors for their YouTube page, or logos on their screen, or even people that sponsor, you know libations, like while you're, you know while you're there.
yeah,
Because everybody wants to turn podcasting into a business, and there are people out there that make really good money doing podcasting. Joe Rogan is one of them. He has, like, one of the biggest podcast deals, and it's just because he has a product that people want to listen to. He talks about things that does piss people off. He does talk about things that do get people talking. And as when you are podcasting, we are going to say things that are going to piss people off. And to be honest, if I piss somebody off, I'm not sorry. It's my opinion. And we all have, like, and that's what you have to do. And with the fact that I do all these crazy things as a little person, I'm okay if it pisses off other little people, because I'm not them. I'm not making fun of them. I'm making fun of myself. I'm the one dressing up as a leprechaun. I'm not holding a gun to anybody's head and say, hey, you have to dress like a leprechaun. You are a leprechaun. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah, 100%.
and you have to, like, if everybody agreed with everything that we said, we'd all be robots. I would not want to live in that world.
No, who
Would
would?
you?
No, 100%. Um, but yeah, look, there's a lot more freedom in this forum, and people can listen to it whenever they want. They don't have to wait for till 7:30 for their favorite segment on the radio or whatever. And I think it's great. I think it's democracy, really. You're democratizing media, and yeah, like you got your Rogans out there or the Theo Vaughn guys and stuff like that. And if they've got a product that people like, they're going to make money, and good for them. Um, like for our purposes, I just we're dudes, so we don't have a standing appointment to go for tea every fucking Thursday at 9 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I like our chats, and I've always enjoyed hanging out and chatting with you. So it's kind of like, well, if we have an appointment to do it, it'll happen more regularly. So that's kind of my main incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
yeah, might as well
so
record it.
might as well. So we kind of touched on this yesterday, and you kind of mentioned it at the beginning. You're a huge Oilers fan. You do hockey pools and you've watched all the playoffs and stuff like that. Your thoughts on the loss?
Um, Well, first of all, Florida was just like I don't even know if they're like technically like player for player a better team, but they sure played better in terms of adhering to their system. Their commitment to their system and their discipline was um, peerless. And so that's the first thing you got to give him credit for. Like even McDavid, like the frustration that the players and the fans felt at the end of that series. Um, that's the way the game that Florida plays is designed to make you feel. Let that frustration sink in, and so first of all, you got to give Florida their flowers. It didn't help at all. Like the player in the Oilers roster maybe most closely matches Florida's style of play is Zach Hyman, and he suffered that broken wrist. I was actually sad for a couple of days because I just felt like even if we won the cup, he wouldn't be able to carry it. And he's such a huge part of our team and such a great contributor. And one of those guys that you never, ever, ever question his commitment. Like every shift, every second out there, you know. So we really missed him. Nuge had a broken hand. I bet everybody has injuries, so I'm not going to say that's the main reason. But I think the fact that our coaches, and I'm not being critical, I think Chris Staubach's a great coach. Um, but there's always that inclination to put McDavid and Draisaitl together, and when that happens, you're putting all your eggs in one basket, and the other players maybe don't see the ice as much. You're not rolling four lines equally like you should, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs when you rely on your depth and we rely on those players for contributions and scoring and offensive pressure and things like that. We didn't do any of that once we put McDavid and Draisaitl together. So I think the priority moving forward, we have. Well, Edmonton only has three picks in the draft, which starts Friday. Round one starts Friday, round two Saturday. But typically, and our first pick is third round. So if you're an Oiler fan and you only care about the Oilers, you're not even watching the draft on Friday night. But yeah, no one really cares too much about who we get at the draft. But that's typically when trades get made on the draft floor and heading into free agency, which is Tuesday, July 1st. That's when we might see the complexion of our team change and maybe have a little more youth, a little more speed, and a little more depth to contribute. Because yeah, we're going to be back. I'm looking forward to next year, and you can't keep a good team down for too long, and I really expect big things from the Oilers.
The thing is though, is they did fantastic. Like the last 2 years, they made it to the Stanley Cup frickin' finals 2 years in a row. And both times they ended up being stuck with the same team that's, has their number. Like they figured out how to shut stuff down that our team is really good at dealing with and normally but they made it to the finals two years in
Yeah,
a row. Like, and like, if you said that 6 years ago, that wasn't a thing. It
yeah,
wasn't they took forever to get to the first Stanley Cup finals in years. And then all of a sudden we got two in a row. Like, and that's something to be proud of, is the fact
absolutely,
that they're consistent. They did it. They've stuck together, did their thing. And the fact that, as you said, some key players were injured, and couldn't play, that would have been a contributing factor to
100%.
their
Yeah.
loss is the loss of those players. But also in a different note, and I want to ask you this question because I've seen it in other years, like when you have like two losses in a row like this, is there going to be any management change?
Oh
You
no, hell
think,
no, 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 no.
like GM or a
Yeah, no,
coach
no,
or
no. First of all, like you said, just to piggyback on what you said earlier, like there are 30 other teams in the NHL that would kill to be the Oilers. So, we're just not the Panthers right now. So yeah, this team's accomplished a lot, and I think that we're not done. Um, uh, in terms of challenging for the cup, and I predict we're going to win it next year. I'm going to Vegas in August, and I'm buying another ticket for the Oilers to win the cup. So I bought one
so?
last year for $100. It would have paid me well, it would have paid me 955, but or no, 85. So the $100 would have won me 885. Um, and then I was that close. I might do 200 this year, but anyways, to answer your question, no. Uh, Last year at the draft and during free agency, we didn't even have a GM. Our president of hockey operations, Jeff Jackson, he ran our free agency. He got Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner. And so our current GM, Stan Bowman, like he's been on the job less than a year. And frankly, the moves he's made have been fantastic, arguably better than Jeff Jackson's, that's for sure. I think that Jeff Jackson's two biggest free agent pickups, Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner, won't even be with the team in October, I suspect. Whereas Stan Bowman, during his short tenure, like that started less than a year ago, he got us Vasily Podkolzin for a fourth round pick. Um, Jake Wallman, who's got another year left on his contract and really rounds out our defense. Um, he brought in Kapanen off waivers, and he undoubtedly contributed during the playoffs. But I'm excited to see what Stan Bowman does with his team, with him being at the controls all summer. So I suspect we'll see some improvements, and I'm looking forward to it. He's not going anywhere. The coaching staff, they had an end of the season media avail with Chris Knobloch and our GM Stan Bowman, and Bowman gave him a huge, he gave him huge kudos, and he said he's a great coach and they get along. The only thing that might happen with our coaching staff is there's been lots of rumors that our power play coach, Glenn Gulletson, who has coached as a head coach in the NHL with Dallas, actually, and also Vancouver, maybe Calgary, um, he might be interviewing for the Dallas job. And they might poach him. But to be honest with you, if I heard that a year ago when our power play was so dominant in the playoffs, I'd be a lot more disappointed than I am hearing it now because our power play was subpar during the playoffs and maybe one of the reasons why we didn't capitalize. So, if anything, you might see Glenn Gulletson leave the coaching staff. Chris Knobloch's not going anywhere. Um, uh, Paul Coffey has to renew his contract, so that'll be interesting. He's the defense coach, and Mark Stewart's our PK and probably defense coach as well. There might be some shifts in the assistant coaching staff, but the foundation of the team is going to remain the same, and why wouldn't it, right?
Now, do you think like there was a conversation I had with a friend, um, not that long ago? McDavid, do you think he's going to anytime soon ask to leave?
Well, he's so the way free agency works is um, you have to have been in the league at least 7 years or until you're 27, whichever occurs first, and then you're eligible for unrestricted free agency unless you've contracted longer beyond that time. So in McDavid's case, um, he will be an unrestricted. So unrestricted free agency in the NHL starts July 1st, which in our case is Tuesday, July 1st. Um, and that's when contracts are basically up. So some players that don't have contracts become, or whose contracts have expired, become unrestricted free agents. And so any team in the league can sign them. Usually teams work to prevent that from happening by signing the player to longer deals or getting a deal done before July 1st. Now, Evan Bouchard is an RFA, which means he's a restricted free agent, which means the team controls his rights. So although his contract's expired, he hasn't met that 7 year, 27-year-old threshold. So he's going to be a free agent technically on July 1st, too. But he's not an unrestricted free agent. He's a restricted free agent. So we negotiate with him and he'll get a big payday. But with McDavid, in his case, he has 1 year left on his contract, which that year begins on July 1st. So the team can start negotiating with him for an extension on July 1st. But no matter what, he's playing on our team next year. But a year from now, on July 1st, if there's no contract in place, he's free to sign with any team. So
What's
his wife owns a couple of businesses in town. He's got a nice house here. He's playing with his best friend, and this team has a shit ton of potential to win the cup. I don't think he gets that anywhere else. And make no mistake, whoever signs McDavid, and I'm 99% sure it's the Oilers. Uh, they're not making offers. He's telling them what he wants, and they're gladly
so
paying.
you think he's not going to ask to leave? Like with the fact that he's been so close to getting the cup, and maybe he can with another team.
No. In his end of the season kind of press chat with the press or whatever, he said the most important thing to him is winning. Um, uh, his sidekick Leon Draisaitl signed last summer for it was in a similar position last summer, and he signed for 8 years. And they're like best friends. You're gonna fuck off on him. And in fact, Draisaitl said in his thing, "We'd like to have Connor here forever." And McDavid said he just wants to win. And honestly, to be 100% honest with you, he's playing with the second best player in the world on an up and coming team that, I mean, our age, we're a little older, but I think we're going to get younger this summer. But on a team that's been to the Stanley Cup finals twice in the last 2 years, you tell me where else besides, say, Florida, he has a better opportunity to win. And
But
yeah, like, yeah, so, but
but
what, you
he's
got something to
he's
say there, tough guy?
no, but he's a young guy, right? He's his
28.
NHL career started here. He came from the draft, and he's been here for his entire career. He's been
Yep.
so close to getting the cup. You could see on his face, like that there was a lot of frustration at the end of the last game there. And
Yep.
if it was me, I'd be like, do I have a chance somewhere else? Me personally, I would think, you know what? I love Edmonton. I love the guys I work with, but do I have a chance, you know, to get the cup somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean,
That's how I would think. Like, and I have about as much talent when it comes to sports as a houseplant, but it, but that's how my brain would work. It would be, I might, you know, because you get complacent after a while if you're with a team or with a company your entire career. You like look at Gretzky. He did so well with the Oilers here, and then he left, and like he changed the sport as it is, with the huge contract he got when he left the Oilers. But then he went on to winning the cup,
No, he didn't.
not just here.
He
Didn't
didn't win the
he?
cup.
He
No, the last cup Wayne
did.
Gretzky won was in 1988 with the Oilers. Mark Messier went
I
on to
thought.
win the cup in '93 with the Rangers or '94.
Okay,
Um,
yeah. Okay, my bad.
and,
Wrong guy.
and Gretzky, by the way, not for nothing, but Gretzky didn't want to leave. He got sold. Um, Ockington was in trouble, and he, like he had to sell him basically. So, and Gretzky, if you remember that fateful press conference on August 9th, 1988, tearful press conference, you could tell he didn't want to leave. Um, and, like you talk about complacency and stuff, but we're talking about elite professional athletes, Jimmy, and these guys, um, like, everybody was frustrated, not just McDavid. And again, you gotta give Florida credit; they're a great hockey team. Now, and there's changeover every year with teams. There always is. Even Stan Bowman at his press conference said he likes to have a little bit of changeover. Keep things fresh, keep guys enthusiastic. And frankly, I think that, like, if I was the GM of the Oilers and his McDavid's agent said, he might want to investigate other opportunities to win elsewhere, I'd say please go ahead, because quite honestly, you won't find a better opportunity than the Oilers. We're actually a free agent destination now, whereas back in the day we were on most of the players no trade lists because people love a winning environment. People love a winning atmosphere. Our core is in their prime, and they're among the best players in the world. So yeah, go ahead, see how you're going to do elsewhere. Um, we're luckily
But
in that
but
position.
someone with the caliber of McDavid, who is by far the best player in the league, like like wouldn't that be a thought in his head though?
I don't
Like
think
you
so.
talk about you talk about Draisaitl being the second, but McDavid is the best player in the league.
Yep.
He out assists everybody out. Like he's fast, like the fastest guy in the league, like
He's the
on
best
the
player I've ever
ice.
seen in my life, and I've seen Gretzky live. I've seen Messi is my favorite player of all time. I don't think that'll change. But as far as best players go, McDavid in any era would be the best player ever, like in my opinion. Um,
But the game is different. The game is different now than it was with Messier and Gretzky. And there's
100%. It's much
like
faster,
it's and you don't have a protector like McDavid had Smenko.
which I
Like
wish Gretzky, which I wish
was oh yeah, yeah, Gretzky.
which I wish they did have. They did. I wish they got rid of the instigator penalty. But no, I think we're talking about elite professional athletes with like a singular goal from the time they're kids, and to get this close, I I can almost guarantee you that the thought process isn't where else can I win. The thought process is we're so close. We want to finish the fucking job. Because, like I said, I think that that's way more the prevailing attitude among those fellas. We're not in the locker room, and so you can speculate all you want, but I'm telling you, I think that the prevailing attitude from the owner to the president of hockey operations to the GM to the coaches to the players is we want to get the job done. And Stan Bowman's committed to that. I'm looking forward to talking about the moves the Oilers made in our next podcast because a lot's going to come down here in the next week, and we're going to be a better team by the end of that week, in my opinion.
I just my opinion when it came to it is just the frustration. Like you get so close twice, so close. Like last year it was game seven, and this year, they were a little bit further off. But it
And don't
was
forget too,
like,
Jimmy. Sorry, the 2 years prior to that in the playoffs, the two playoffs previous to these past two, we lost to the Stanley Cup champions in both playoffs. So that's how close it is. And the NHL is a very competitive league. There's so much parity. But listen, uh, the last four teams standing in the conference finals prior to the Stanley Cup Finals was Edmonton, Florida, Carolina, and Dallas. And you tell me of those three other teams, which one gives, Florida obviously notwithstanding, they couldn't fit McDavid under their cap anyway. But um, which team gives McDavid a better opportunity? And that's another thing to remember too, right? Is like, first of all, if you're McDavid and you conduct that little search of yours, um, you're going to be making, I would say, at least $16 million a year. And most teams spend to the cap. And the teams that don't suck. So if you want to look at it that way, what teams are going to be able to fit him under the cap anyway? You add like over 10%, and the league maximum for a salary is 20% of the cap. So 16 million would be about 15% of your cap. Teams don't have the room to do that. So I'm not worried about it at all. I'm looking forward to having him back. The only question, and one that might deserve more conversation, is term. Is he going to sign for the 8 years that he's allowed to, or seven to match Dreisaitl's, so that Draisaitl expires the same year as him, or is he going to go short term to hold the team and management's feet to the fire to ensure that they continue to build a winning product? I think that's a more interesting conversation to have. But I feel like maybe our listeners think we might have wasted enough time on this.
Probably. So earlier I was kind of talking about stand up, like the stand up, like we were talking about Delirious
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And you say how not funny I am and how, how you're so much funnier than me.
Well,
Um,
I'm looking at this, and we've been into this for about 56 minutes. It doesn't matter what I say; people have seen it for the last almost 57 minutes. So,
but we haven't got into the funny yet is where I'm going. It's like,
well,
we haven't gone into the
I
funny.
think as
We,
long as you're here, that doesn't seem like a likelihood. you're just you're
I,
just you're
I'm
pitching
just
belt
saying,
high right over the plate.
I'm just saying that we should have either a joke off or a stand up competition, either using this venue or even doing it live somewhere. We both have a couple of watering holes that we're well known at, and you know, show get the people to decide who's funny and who's not.
well,
Not
um,
you, because your judge of funny is you laugh at your own jokes, and you're laughing at your own jokes before you even tell them. Like you're that guy. You're
you
thinking
can't you
about a
can't
joke
ignore
and you laugh.
quality.
Uh, you can if it's bad. Um, just putting that out there in the ether and see where it goes. Uh, is there something else that you want to touch on? Let's get
Well,
away from the sports for a bit.
it's in response to your silly statement about funny. Um, that would never happen. You would never get me on a stage doing any of that shit. So,
Why?
forget about that.
Why?
Because I'm not built for the. I'm not built with the idea that, um, like, I just presume that nobody gives a shit what I have to say, and it served me very well because, it's important to be a little bit humble and stuff, and the idea that people are going to gather in a room to hear me talk is like, I mean, I would never think of myself that highly to consider that a possibility, despite the fact that I'm fucking way funnier than you.
I beg to differ, but it's that okay. If we wouldn't do it live, we could do it in a scenario like this. Each of us have 2 minutes in a scenario like this, and then we post it up for the world to see and go, okay, who's funnier?
Like a joke,
I can't
like, is that what you're
like
talking
like
about?
like not a specific joke. Like write a 2 minute write a 2 minute set. Write talk for two
Oh, fuck.
minutes
No, I'm not doing that.
to be funny. Oh, you
No,
pussy.
you know what? Feel free, buddy, but I'm not doing that. I'm not interested. In
So
fact, feel free to do it yourself. I mean, I can
Uh,
um, switch my earbuds to play music or something, so I don't have to hear or whatever. Like,
no,
but
okay,
you
you
know,
know
this
what?
is just as much
In
your fucking
dealing
podcast as it is mine.
in dealing with this conversation that we're having right now, okay, in later this week, I'll repost me. I was at a media comedy competition with other people from radio, and I killed it. And I've got like 3 minutes. I've got
You
3 minutes of me telling some of the best short jokes on the like I was like I had the crowd in the palm of my hand.
yeah.
But I think the only reason I lost is because the judges felt sorry for how good I was in
Yeah.
comparison to everybody else. But I do have a clip, and it is on my YouTube channel, which this podcast can be found on, and I will share it later on this week just to show how funny that this like and in my defense, Brad Williams, that midget fucker, he stole some of my jokes, because I'm older. So if
How
you
do you
don't know who
know?
Brad Williams is, he's a little person comedian, and I know he stole my stuff.
By the way, Brad Williams is hilarious. Also, I just remember like minutes ago, I said, I don't, I don't, I would never presume that people would care what I have to say, and then you're like, well, yeah, I went up there and I fucking killed it. Like the unvarnished appraisal of your work given by you.
No, but you could hear the crowd. The crowd was loving it. And like, and the person doing the filming just about dropped the camera a couple of times. She was laughing so hard. You know,
Or like in an effort to try to run away, but people were keeping her there.
ha ha ha.
Hey, listen, Brad Williams is fucking hilarious. Like, he's a funny guy. He's got a thing on YouTube. I think it's called Starfish. I think that's his last thing. I would highly recommend that to anybody looking for some good stand-up comedy. But I'm curious, like you said, like he stole some of your stuff. Like what? Like what? Like what?
Oh
Are
no,
you the guy?
okay,
You
okay,
came up with how did a chicken cross the road? Like how the fuck? Like
no, okay, okay. He might not have. Okay, so both of us, and like we have a similar style when it comes to situational comedy, funny things that happen because you were there. Like he says, "Hey, when he goes out somewhere and they're like, I don't see anything funny. Just wait." Like me, like a couple years ago, I was out with some friends. We were on White Avenue. We were drinking all day. Then I go to get into an Uber, and my best friend is sitting there talking to the Uber driver. He's not paying attention to whether or not the midget's in the car. And then he starts driving, and one foot is behind the door's still open. I'm being dragged and I'm sitting there dead, and I fell out. Situational comedy, weird things that have happened because, like he talks
is that,
about, he's
is
from,
that is that shit on your YouTube channel? Because I'd fucking check that out.
we didn't get video of that. We've
I'd,
talked
I'd,
about it.
I'd be cheering. Come on! Ah,
I,
fuck, you made it.
I fell out of the Uber. I fell out, and then Locke, who was in the front seat, he had to go a block and a half back to grab my other shoe. Um, but I didn't get hurt. I got a couple scrapes on my elbows and stuff. I could have really got hurt, but how I landed, uh, elbows, elbows and forearms and knees. So I was fine, but my shoe really was the big thing because it was a block and a half back. But
The midget sticks the landing.
like, and then he talks about he's from California. He talks about coming to Canada and they get a foot and a half of snow. And you tall people bitch about the foot and a half of snow. And I like a foot and a half of snow on you is to your ankles. It's to my waist. So there was one time, and this was, I want to say it was 2011 ish, where we got snow. You remember that there was that
Yeah,
one
yeah,
winter where we had like 2.5 feet of snow in one night.
yeah. Like
And I'm
people were
sitting there
shoveling their
walking
roofs.
because I was walking to the bus and I was walking in the snow, like past my belly button. And and then I slipped on some ice and I was face down in the snow with the snow now above my head with a huge backpack and I'm trying to get up and I almost called my friend and said, "Hey, I'm in the corner of this and this. Uh, if you see a
You,
backpack, if
you
you
can't
see a
see me.
backpack, if you see a backpack in the snow, look underneath it. It's probably me." Like I did figure my way out, but could you imagine being someone driving down 109th Street and going, "Hey, there's a backpack that's moving. I wonder what that's all about." Like,
If I find the backpack and take it home, do I get to keep you? It's like a
uh,
butler.
uh, do you,
I'm
do
like,
you, do you really want to
ah,
keep me to knowing how much I drink?
no, yeah, yeah. Gee, an expensive endeavor. Um, so this little story of yours. Oh, you regular people, when it snows, for me, it's waist high. Is that going to be part of your bit? You're gonna have a
That is
stand-up
my
comedy
bit.
off.
Like, that's all my comedy shit. Like,
Yeah, because you know what? To be honest with you, Jimmy, it wasn't
it's
that
all
funny.
situational.
It's not that
Yeah,
funny.
but you were laughing, and you weren't laughing out of pity. You were laughing because you thought it was funny. You're
No, I
just
was
saying right
laughing.
now
I
that
was
you didn't
laughing
think it
at.
was.
I was laughing at how entertained you were by yourself.
Hey, I'm very entertaining, okay?
Yeah.
But but
You,
so
you should you should do a podcast like and not record it and just talk to yourself. It'd be your favorite podcast.
so you were talking earlier, so we're gonna try and do this. We're gonna do this podcast every week, and so next week you're gonna be talking about what happened during the draft, and what other stuff like dealing in the sports end of things do you think you want to look at?
I don't know. Like, not everybody's a massive, passionate sports fan, so I think it's important that we don't overweight that stuff too much.
No,
It's a passion of
yeah,
mine, but I
obviously,
can
like
assume
we.
it's a passion of everybody's. But I can speak generally in general terms about the Eskimos, and they're 2-0, or they're 0-2. I'm sorry, and things aren't looking any better because I think they play the Grey Cup champs this week. Um, we have a new coach, a firm commitment to our young Canadian quarterback, Trey Ford, and we brought in some pretty nice free agents, but the team can't put it together at all. These aren't even like losses where it was close. The last two losses we played BC and Montreal, and we got our asses handed to us. I'm going to be monitoring the situation, but I don't think there'll be much uplifting things to say about that. And I haven't been to a game, nor will I go to a game until they change the name back to Eskimos. But that's a topic for another day, I
I
suppose.
I kind of disagree with that because like I haven't. The last time I was at the Edmonton Elks, like, may have got a little drunk and knocked myself unconscious and had to be taken out by an ambulance. But, you know,
Did you have a
I'm
sign?
kind of,
Did you have a sign like "Get by a midget a beer" or something?
no, I had a hat. It said buy a midget a beer. And
Yeah,
then,
and
then
and obviously people there could read because that's what happened, and you got
I,
shit
I,
canned.
I, 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 I drank 11 beer in 2 hours. Um, it, it, it wasn't a good look. So then after that,
No shit.
I burned the hat.
Good.
And then now I wear a hat that says "Don't buy a midget a beer."
could call, could call. But the Eskimo games are the best. I used to go all the time, and honestly, I think if they change their name, I might even get season tickets because it's a fun evening or afternoon out. It's great for families, and yeah, like uh, I take no I don't I find no joy in the fact that the team has sucked since they changed the name, and before that, I wish them the best. I hope they do well. I'm still a fan, marginally, but they just don't see any of my money. So yeah, I can give a little bit of analysis on that. Now you mentioned earlier that I do hockey pools and stuff. In fact, I don't do hockey pools at all. Um, I'll
Oh, I
do the
thought you
odd
did.
I'll do the odd playoff bracket, but I am a huge fantasy football guy, and love fantasy football. That usually starts around September with the dawn of the NFL season, and holy cow, it's I didn't even think of doing it. Our mutual friend Alton, who I've known since grade six, like back when we were in high school, he'd have binders and get guys to join leagues, and like you'd do it, but your heart wasn't in it. And then he had one going, and I invited my son uh, to get involved, and so we were in the same fantasy league. And holy cow, like what an avenue for bonding! Like there was never any shortage of things for us to talk about. We'd go watch the games at the bars, and on Sunday, and there's a game at 11, a game at 2, and then another game at like 6:20, um, and all like you're literally watching like four screens because you're not necessarily cheering for teams, you're cheering for players because you want a guy who's on your fantasy team to get a touchdown, um, or like um, or a running back to get more yards. So it's super engaging, and it's no surprise that it's a big contributor to the NFL success. I might talk a little bit about fantasy, but not in a way that'll bore anybody. I hope, and certainly not for too long.
Yeah, it's like I I'm a CFL fan, but I go to the games for the experience of being at
To get
Commonwealth
hammered.
Stadium. That's and to get hammered. But like there, I've had season tickets for years, or I used to, especially like early in my like radio with Cruz. But
Yeah.
went there for the experience because the fans are awesome. Like people are great. Like you know the beer is awesome. And did
You
I
know,
talk about the beer? The beer is good too. Um,
it's great for the community too. And like I grew up on the Eskimos. Those guys are like my idols, and I talked to a guy, I talked to Bayrak. He's a fella who's our age, and yeah, we were reminiscing about how it was such a big deal back then. And when they changed their name, they're like talking about finding a new demographic and basically denigrating their fans, their older fans. Like they're like, hopefully in a couple of years, um, it won't just be white males, 35 to 50 or whatever they said. And it's just like, well, these are the guys that keep the torch, man. These are the guys that grew up on that like thought that Tommy Scott and Brian Kelly, and Waddell Smith and Warren Moon and Dave Cutler, and Danny Kepley were Tom Wilkinson were like gods. And now
yeah,
it's like it's the Elks and it's corporate and it's fuck our fans. And anyway, whatever. I said too much. Don't need to talk
but
about
the
it.
thing is, Kate, the thing is before we leave with dealing with the Elks, is again, it's people like the name change was people getting offended for somebody else. They're saying, well,
Yeah.
the Inuit, like the people up north, they're offended by the word Eskimo. You ask people from up north, no, we're okay with it. It's
They
people
take
getting
pride in it.
offended for somebody else. Yeah,
They take pride in
like
it. Like,
it's
yeah. And what it was, Jimmy, is they had a sponsor, Bel Air Direct Insurance. Don't buy from them, by the way, folks, but that said to them, if you don't change the name, we're not gonna be a sponsor anymore. And now we're talking millions of dollars. And so like our feckless and gutless and ballless like board of directors, which back when it was community owned, ran the team, decided that they would bend the knee, and so they changed the name to the Elks. And frankly, it wasn't even. It was more driven by economics than anything else. A company that wanted a good ESG score, whatever the fuck. But I'll put it to you this way, okay? Um, wouldn't you love it if they called the team the Edmonton Moonies or the Edmonton Jimmies? Like nobody's like when you name your team, it's aspirational. Like Warriors, or like something that everybody takes pride in. And like I said, it's aspirational. You don't hear about the fucking Memphis assholes or like the Minnesota cocksuckers. Like 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 you name your team something
Oh,
that you're proud of or
oh,
something aspirational. So, in my
oh,
opinion,
no, dude,
if
come
you're a
on.
quote unquote, just shut up for a sec. If you're a quote unquote, like uh whatever Eskimo or Inuit or whatever, however you identify, but if it resembles that group of people, then I would be proud of that. Like my family's Irish. I have been known to wear Notre Dame Fighting Irish gear. I'm not offended. I don't go around going, oh, like I hate the idea that they're promoting the idea of the Irish as being like, like fighters or brawly or whatever the fuck. Like, so the whole thing stinks, and I wish that we, like I said, with the comedy chat we had before, I wish people took things a little less seriously and didn't leverage judgment for their own means so they could feel better about themselves. I'm done with
it's
that rant.
it yeah, it's like, but I'm not gonna hate a team. Like, I'm not gonna, not be supporting the Eskimos or the Elks because they changed their name. Like, it's not the team's fault. It's
It's
not,
the team that did
you
it.
know, no, no, but no, it wasn't. It was a couple people on, like, management on the team. The team didn't. The
All the
players didn't.
players, the coaches,
Like
sure,
the
sure, yeah,
players didn't. The coaches didn't. It was management. It would be like this. Like, just say, hypothetically speaking, the real estate company that you work with, and they decided to, yeah, you know what? We're changing our name to the midgets of real estate because we're the biggest men on the campus. But it was your upper management, your owners, your whatever, that said, this is what's happening. And you, as a broker in said company, or working there, going, I don't like this idea. This is kind
yeah.
of
But
dumb. And then
look,
you have to deal with it. But that's just, what am I going to do? Hate you because you changed your company changed names? Like, it's,
that's a bullshit analogy, Jimmy, and I'll tell you why. Because that's just like the motivation for making that change would be obviously market driven or some sort of profit inducement or whatever the case may be.
but it's management.
When you
It's
when you
not the
it's,
players. It's not the
why are
team.
you interrupting me? Why have to be such a
Uh,
dick? It's
uh,
last I checked, it was the bald and short of it, not just the short of it. So, anyways, this isn't the Jimmy show. It might be heartbreaking for you to realize that, but facts are facts, my friend. Anyways, um, like the motivation for the Eskimo thing was like self righteous fucking bullshit. And frankly, uh, um, like I said, that sense of community, that sense of that group chat belonging, the group being at the games, all of those things were wonderful experiences that I'll always cherish from my youth. Um, and to turn the page on that, to turn your back on that, because you think a name is offensive or whatever. And frankly, Jimmy, would I like to be at the next game? Would I like to be in the stands with you, crushing a few beers? Absolutely, I would. But in my opinion, like at some point, you do have to make a stand because otherwise, this shit continues, and we lead very authoritative and highly boring lives, in my opinion. So that's how I feel about that. It's not changing the name of your fucking business. It's changing. It's dismissing a culture, and dismissing memories. Even you might contend.
I wasn't a fan of the name change, but I just wasn't going to turn my back on the team because of the change. That's just kind of where I was kind of touching at right there. Um, but I get where you're coming from because like you grew up in Edmonton, you've grew up with the Eskimos. I've only lived in Edmonton for 20 years, so
Well, that's
I
not
do
an
get
insignificant amount of time. They belong to you too.
I do get your passion. I do get your thoughts behind it, and you know we all have our opinions, and they're never always gonna mesh. But hey, who
Yeah.
knew? Um,
One thing they did do that kind of brings us closer to the history of the storied Eskimo franchise, which up until recently were considered for history and tradition, were considered the New York Yankees of the CFL. Um, was they got rid of that shitty elk logo, some obscure elk head or whatever that they had,
oh yeah,
and
and they're doing the EE.
yeah, they went back to the double E, which I think should
That,
still be within that circle, the double E with the circle. But and the new owner,
but it's one step.
yeah, yeah, and I call me stupid, but I hold out hope that they're gonna change back. And believe me, when they do, you and I are going to that fucking game
Because the new owner, you were kind of touching on that, Ed, like, and then I interrupted slightly.
as
Is
usual.
the new owner was an Eskimos fan. He's been an Eskimos fan
Oh, yeah,
for
his whole life.
for
He's a
his whole life,
successful
and I could see
businessman in
him
the
making
community.
changes for the positive for the Eskimo fans.
Yeah,
Is where the hope is.
and frankly, the Eskimos are a community. Were community owned since their inception until last year when this guy bought the team. And yeah, he's like lifelong season ticket holder, successful business guy. Um, and what's funny is, uh, obviously, it's a big deal when that happened. And so I watched the press conference, and the first thing the guy says is Eskimos. Like, I've been an Eskimo fan. I'm like, I was so happy. I'm like, there you go, pal. So I think that's one of the reasons I hold out hope that you know we're going to return to form on that front. And yes,
But
we're going to that
let's
fucking game.
We definitely are. So let's call it good for now. We'll kind of end here, but we were pigeonholing, trying to aim for an hour a podcast. We're at an hour 22 ish. And so, is there one last thing you want to say today before we call her good till next week?
Um, well, you're the guy with the list. I mean, what do we have? How many talking points do we have? How many? Just
Dude, we talked about none of them.
yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. I love it.
Like
I love it.
we talked about the NHL draft. It's the only thing on the stuff I sent to you that
Well,
we dealt with, and
uh,
the stand up.
yeah, and you know what? We didn't go over an hour for nothing. It was fun. And listen, I love you, dude. Um, it's great for the. I thank you for the hang. I'll just put it to you that
Yeah,
way.
you know what? Because we talk about this all the time. Like we were talking yesterday, and we were both we might have been drinking, and there and we were going, we should be recording this shit. Like
Yeah,
is was the con we, oh, this would be awesome. Like a clip from this on the like you need to have when I'm coming over to your place and we're hanging, you need to have security cameras in there recording our
yeah.
conversations that we go where you go, hey, we need to do that and then play a clip of that on the show eventually because
Well, that's coming with
like
AI glasses or something.
who knew? But yeah,
No, listen.
this.
One thing I will say, like since you mentioned last night, I can't believe we never did that sooner, but we definitely have to do that again. Although I guess you can only do it for so long. But TV show theme song trivia is something I highly recommend, and that we fell into last night. That was fun. You open up the
Oh,
Spotify, you pick a TV theme show from an era,
but
you
we
play it,
went
and you
TV
get
and movies.
TV and movies. Yeah. Um, oh, and like with the movies, it doesn't have to be the theme song. So, like for example, I did like "You Belong to the City," which is very closely associated with Miami Vice. Jimmy didn't know that, but whatever. It was fun, and yeah, I
No,
absolutely I fucking love.
I got it towards the end,
Oh,
and
like
then you
I'm like
played.
when it went like towards the end, I'm like the guy was in the Eagles. His name was Glenn.
Okay, but but
Sorry.
but in my defense, when I played the opening scroll theme for Star Wars Episode 6, you did not get it.
Oh,
So
for fuck's
you know,
sakes. It was Star Wars. But you're like, no, no, there's a nuance. It's like episode six, fucking whatever. And
uh,
just fuck the fuck off.
you should have got it. You should have
Like
got it.
I'm glad I
I'm
didn't
just
get
saying.
that. It proves that I'm not a nerd. Um, like we can't all go back to the days when we were watching Star Wars with our buddies and playing basketball for the Tabor midgets.
It was a Canadian half pints.
Yeah.
Um, but but okay, going forward, so next episode we're going to be talking about the hockey draft. I actually have put off watching the Andor series, part of the Jedi Jimmy podcast, which I'm going to kind of touch on um, in our next episode. We're going to have a bunch of stuff. We're going to keep it real. And for those of you that are seeing this podcast on our YouTube page or on our social media, comment on stuff that you think that we should talk about. If you want us to discuss something, or if you have an idea, let us know, because we're about entertaining the crowd and each other. So
Yeah, like
let's
sorry if
go
I
that
can
way.
piggyback on that just a little, Jimmy. Like we've already discussed like having guests on and talking about other topics and different things, and that's definitely going to happen. Looking forward to it, in fact. But like as we just saw, it's like we're like almost an hour and a half in, and there's no shortage of
And
just you and me talking shit. But in that vein, anybody that has anything they'd like us to discuss or even bring an expert in on or whatever the hell, then for sure that would be really cool if we had that level of engagement where it's not just us driving the bus; it's a team.
an expert were you.
Yeah,
But on that note, this is the Bald and Short of It podcast. I am James P. White. You are
I'm Chris Mooney, and it's been a sincere pleasure, buddy.
all right. Call her
Talk to you
good.
soon.
Okay, just